Hello, friends, and welcome back to the OCL for OEI versus ASO. And with those three acronyms, we get a good sense of how things are going in this week 3 competition within week 4 of the actual gameplay. OEI basically crushed ASO in game number 1, and now they got blue side as well. And given the fact that I was saying, hey, OEI's draft and their ban strategy in particular was well suited to blue side rather than red, I'm a little bit worried about what's going to happen to ASO in this game. I'm not going to lie, Alls.
Yeah, we saw that last week as well. The game one, or not last week, last night even as well. Next week, in fact, in terms of the schedule, up against Dynasty Chaos Emerald, where OEI looked good in game one, but they weren't utterly destructive. Game two, they come out swinging for the fences and utterly destroy the Dynasty team. So for this ASO squad, which has often folded here in OCL play, I'm very concerned about their chances.
Well, what do you want to see as a shakeup from ASO? Because right now, they are not banning the Jarvan that I think they desperately need to ban during this first phase.
Nope, the Jarvan goes through. Instead, what I think OEI is going to pick here is likely the Rek'Sai, because that has been their priority before. That will, in fact, be taken here. That is going to OEI red. As I said before game one, OEI loves this champion. They think it's one of the best champions in the jungle role right now. So that's what they're prioritizing. For ASO, we need to see something in the mid lane. We haven't seen much pressure out of King of Darkin, but we saw the kills rack up on them. We need to see those kills transition into something meaningful for the team, which means something a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more relevant to the game state than the Galio here in game two.
Yeah, the Jarvan is stolen away, but the fact that OEI got Rek'Sai, I think just kind of shifts goalposts a little bit. Sure, Jarvan is aggressive, can beat Vi in the 1v1. You know what can beat a Jarvan in a 1v1, though?
Oh, Rek'Sai.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
She's in a healthy place, isn't she, Nyarko?
It's a very silly pick. I will say that it is definitely a bit of a knowledge check champion once again. The problem is that ASO have failed at maths and failed at the League of Legends side of things as well, it seems like. And the fact that Rel Lucian is coming in for the bot lane to match up against the Ashe Taric yet again does give me further confidence that OEI are going to look for crazy invades early to try to split the map. And then once again, Rek'Sai could just focus these two picks that I think were really the best chances that ASO had of sustaining into the late game and hopefully winning from there.
Yeah, I really don't love the fact that ASO is so desperate to make Ashe Taric work. I understand that it worked, in theory, pretty alright through the early portions of this first game, but Vortex Ninja has been far and away your best performing player on this ASO roster. The only player that's not top 10 in deaths has a very high KDA, even compared to the rest of OCL, has been top in next to every metric that is positive that you want to be in top of. And they're putting him on Ash duty. It's just baffling to me. Why wouldn't you put your best player on a carry?
It's a matter of not really being comfortable with doing much more than initiating for the rest of your team into a group of players that, while maybe you are on par with as the best player of ASO, the rest of your team may be struggling to meet that same kind of bar, frankly. And I think that the worry that comes from that kind of dynamic is that at least Ash can initiate to bring other players into the fray off the back of an Enchanted Crystal Arrow. If you are just a squishy carry with very little in the way of mobility and self heal, what can happen is that you just get ran down no matter how well you position during a team fight because the whole wall that is keeping you from the entirety of OEI collapses in an instant.
I mean, I do understand that. I just wish they gave Vortex Ninja a little bit more agency to control their own destiny here. I think that their drafting here leaves Vortex a little bit too reliant on the rest of ASO to provide something that they have not provided so far this season. That being said, I like the Syndra for King of Darkin. This is what we needed from this mid lane, a little bit of damage, a little bit of pressure to really put Poseidon his Gabe down if they can continue the pressure that they had early on in game one.
Yeah, the Jackson Seraphine will be great initiators for OEI to follow up on what Rel is doing and what Rek'Sai are doing. I think that the Seraphine is kind of an affectation for OEI. I feel that it's just a different experience from playing Swain. Poseidon is Gabe, doesn't want to have to wade into the entire group of the enemy team in order to try to come out the other end with a victorious fight. Rather, they want to sit back, just work as artillery here. It's perfectly commendable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the Swain was gorgeous last game, utterly unkillable, looked very confident on the front lines. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this Seraphine can do, whether Poseidon's game will look as comfortable in a completely different role here. The downside is this starts to fall into what ASO had game one, where you're indexing heavily into your top and bot laner, where your mid
Mhm.
laner isn't necessarily going to be as relevant. That being said, Seraphine does give out far more damage than Galio does, while offering similar amounts of crowd control. So I am a little bit concerned that if OEI falls behind, if they can't quite get that damage out early and get that pressure down, that their damage spread will be problematic, and that the J4 and Tark from ASO will be able to become effectively unkillable in the mid to late game.
Okay, hear me out. We get Rungle here with a Rek'Sai top. Ah, no, Koi's grabbing the Jax. Never mind. Rek'Sai mid, perhaps?
I think you've gone a little bit too far here. It will be the Rek'Sai in the jungle. Again, we saw this last night from OEI against Dynasty Chaos Emerald, so it's not entirely surprising, and Red performed very well on it in that game as well.
Look, I'm telling you, man, you can't bungle the Rungle.
I think you can. I think there's a reason that it hovers around 40 odd % win rate.
Huh. Well, you should have more faith, I think, in the fact that this is eventually going to become viable. She can clear the jungle now, which is a huge step forward in the right direction. Frankly,
That's
you have a
fair.
game up. OEI can pick whatever they so desire in this game.
That's very fair. I did look through the match results, by the way, Nyarko. Last night, OEI Red on this Rek'Sai 11, 2, and 10, only outdamaged by Robin on the Kaisa, who went 16, 2, and 4. You would have to combine any two members of the enemy team before you did as much damage as Red on the Rek'Sai. So this Rek'Sai in these hands is terrifying. And if it's half as effective as the J4 is last game, this is going to be over very, very quickly.
Yeah, and while I think Rek'Sai is a champion that needs to smash the early game even harder than the Jarvan does, and that dynamic where Red is once again going to be able to choke out the always slept on jungler if they so desire. It's a matter of now you needing to do that because you will have no utility come late game if it is the case that you can't pop off. And so maybe if ASO just really heavily guard their jungle and they have good rotation pathways in, they set up great vision to make sure the Red Hawk doesn't fall behind. What can happen is now you have a little bit more weight put upon Robin and Rel in particular in the hands of social system to do well. Because I will say in the past, it did feel like the Lucian was just kind of secondary to all the damage that was coming out of Poseidon is Gabe and Red in that first round.
Yeah, absolutely. It didn't feel like Robin was quite as impactful in that game. The only problem with your hope for ASO, and this is entirely plausible that I will be wrong here, but we did not see any of that in game one. We didn't see any pressure from the lanes to help their jungler. If we're going to see that in game two, it's going to be a complete tone shift from this squad. And we've seen that in best of threes, best of fives before, where one game a team has played absolutely differently from the next. But it would be a big step up for ASO. And as a fan, I'm hoping that they manage to do it, but we have to acknowledge that it is a bit of a long shot.
All right. Well, ASO have adapted. I don't know if they've adapted in enough ways to have them bring a chance to the table versus OEI, who seem to have the momentum of a runaway freight train. But OE Infinity do have more pronounced weaknesses than I think they did in game number one. That being said, their ability to snowball is as high as ever. And so, therefore, I think it's probably best that we throw it over to a quick break. Let's get to the Rift as fast as possible, and let's see what future lies ahead of both of these teams. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the OCL for game number 2 between OE Infinity and Always Slept On. I gotta say, I have yet to hear my alarm clock sound. I'm still sleeping on Always Slept On. Also, I gotta say, that last game does not inspire a whole lot of confidence.
No, if anything, that gave me the confidence to flip over my pillow, find the cool side, and go right back to sleep. Even deeper, Nyarko. ASO just looked absolutely dominated from top to bottom, especially in that jungle where OEI Red was lights out. Red Hawk having the name taken from them alongside every camp in their clutches. Was just a dominant performance from the J4, and now on Rek'Sai, which looked so good last night against Dynasty Chaos Emerald, Red is looking to perform exactly the same trick.
Is that the Star Guardian Seraphine skin for Poseidon is Gabe?
Sure looks like it, Nyarko.
More like
A bit of
Poseidon is Slay, if you know what I'm saying. That was terrible. I should have used that Poseidon is slayed when he dies. That would have been so much better. I apologize.
This is dangerous for Derp. Yeah, that had been a few over the wall. That would have been a very dead Fiora. Instead, just going to get some vision. They are going to know that Red is stealing the red buff here. So we are going to see, yet again, a vertical jungle from these junglers. This time, Red trapped on the top side of the map, while the J4 of Red Hawk is on the bot side, looking to find an early gank onto Robin and Social System, who both have the Flash and Cleanse for Robin available.
Yeah, Robin will just have to flash away. Social System is taking a ton of poke as they try to make their way back towards the tower. Still holding on to the flash, but it will pay off. They will get to safety at just a sliver of health, and they will deny a first blood attempt for Always Slept On.
Not just deny the first blood, but they also take Red Hawk very, very low, alongside putting some decent poke back down onto Dog Pound General and Vortex Ninja. So, while that was a good dive in theory, and while that did get the flash out of Robin, which in these early levels for Lucian, when you don't have the Relentless Pursuit, is big, it does slow down Red Hawk. It forces them to take these clears a little bit more slowly, a little bit more cautiously, and allows Red to be confident in their aggression. As Derp's in trouble, Derp's going to get stunned up here, taking a lot of damage on this Fiora. The parry will keep them alive for just long enough, Nyarko. The pressure being put out by the Rek'Sai continues to be so expansive here.
It's the same dynamic, though, for the Rek'Sai as it was for Jarvan. Going low, it might be a little bit more tough for them to quickly clear this top side of the map. And honestly, this time around, I like the split jungling for Always Slept On quite a bit more than I do for OEI. I don't know if that invade from Red was really worth it to start us off in this game, because now their only option is to try to kill Sir Derp, who is going to sit further back, closer to the tower. They still have flash available, and that feels less successful, actually, than what we saw out of the Jarvan earlier.
Yeah, this is very true, and the two lanes that the Jarvan has access to, in theory, are going to be easier to gank in these early levels. We saw it already in the bot side. Now that they're level 3, it might be a little bit harder, but Seraphine, not known for being mobile, may be a little bit in trouble if Red Hawk decides to go up that way. However, we see Red looking back towards this top side. While Sir Derp doesn't have the push, they are still in a pretty good spot to get out of this. They're going to have to be very careful here.
Yeah, Sir Derp, though, once again, is able to just hold on to their flash. They still have teleport available as well, Aulz. And yeah, they burned a few more tools, but it doesn't feel like they're progressing at all in this. And now we're going to see the cross map. Here comes Red Hawk. Crashdown will get Social System away. However, Robin is stunned up, exhausted. That forces the flash. They're under the tower now, but Red Hawk is taking too much aggro.
No.
Disaster for ASO as first blood goes over to the Rel.
There is a positive here, Nyarko. The kill went to the Rel. However, it's still disastrous. That's still a bunch of XP and gold in the pockets of Robin and Social System. That's still all that pressure that this jungler and bot side trio were trying to put into this bot lane. Completely destroyed. Red's in a little bit of trouble here, though. Will be forced to flash away. The Rek'Sai is slippery, but might not be slippery enough to get out of this one alive.
Oh my god, they just broke the ankles of King of Darkin, and I don't even know if that happens. The Syndra floats.
They broke the ankles, they broke the knees, they broke everything there in Nyarko. That was dirty from this jungler, looking great on the Rek'Sai in that slippery nature. But it's not the same pressure that we saw in the early game of Game 1. Red has not found kills
They've gotten some pressure on the top side. Sir Derp has had a miserable time of it, already down 20 CS to the Jacks of Koi, who will be more than happy to take lead, more than happy to become the split push pressure in this game. But it's still not what they could have been, what they've been in the past for this OEI squad.
Ping's coming out. They know that Red Hawk is clearing out this topside jungle, and so Seraphine's starting to cheat up. Jax is starting to cheat down, but it looks like at the end of it all, the Jarvan also is a pretty slippery sucker, will be able to get out. The problem is there's not a whole lot for them to clear anymore, and while I do wish Red was doing a little bit more than just trying to gank top over and over again, it does feel like there's some breathing room now for the Rek'Sai to get back out onto the map, re-stabilize their clear path, and furthermore, Aulz, they will be able to start ganking bot because of it.
Yeah, having this vertical jungle broken is nice, although it looks like Red is looking towards this top side again. Sir Derp has taken a lot of poke and is forced so far back from this wave, courtesy of Koi being so strong. This does mean that they're giving up a lot of pressure bot side. Red Hawk has to take advantage of this, has to try and find some neutral objectives here if they can't manage another dive onto the bot lane. That early Earthdrake looking nice and juicy at 6.5 minutes here, Nyarko.
Yep. And I do think that right now, Red should just back cash out and from there look for ganks. But if they are going to go for another round of clears while Jarvan is taking this dragon, this doesn't really shape the game. And if you're able to power spike all that bit harder, what's going to happen is now your ganks are going to be even more valuable into these lanes. Sir Derp still has teleport up, and they still only have a refillable pot in their inventory. Koi's in much the same situation, but the dynamic is whoever backs first and teleports back to the lane first will be in comfortable position to set up for a kill if the Jarvan or Rek'Sai paths up. And right now, the split jungling is continuing in favor of OE Infinity on at least that part of the map.
Yeah, Red does not have much of a camp advantage at this point, but taking away that red buff from under Red Hawk's nose for the second time this game does make it a little bit harder for the J4. Once we see Red back, it'll be so much more difficult for Red Hawk to be that invading jungler, pardon me, that we're seeing right now. Although it does look like, for now, this bot quadrant is going to be given up once again by the Rek'Sai. So they're continuing to vertical here, but I don't know. I don't like this from OEI. Go ahead. Start pressuring the J4. We need Red to step in here. I think this is a waste from OEI.
Yeah, the fact that the Rek'Sai still hasn't backed is really irresponsible, in my opinion. I like what they're going for, but now the fact that the Rek'Sai is just going to try to take the Rift Herald doesn't make sense to me when your goal as a champion is to get out onto the map, and we just haven't seen it after a few failed attempts topside. I mean, Sir Derp never lost their flash during any of those plays, and this definitely feels like it could be a weak spot that ASO not necessarily can capitalize on, but at least it buys a ton of breathing room for a team that was severely crushed at this point in the last game.
Yeah, however, Red is going to be able to take this Rift Herald, so they'll have the chance. If they want, they are full health, but they'll have the chance if they want to back here and then choose to use that Rift Herald with all of the value of that gold in their pockets. But look at the pathing. It looks like Red isn't done power farming just yet. They're going to continue this as we've seen engage in bot side, the Magnet Storm coming out.
Yeah, Social System is happy to trade that for the Cosmic Radiance, though. And so Dog Pound General and Vortex Ninja, unable to get much besides an even health trade, makes this favorable for OEI. They will be able to set up for future plays, and it looks like we're actually getting it immediately, as that's a mount up to stun 2. Jarvan is here to try to turn things around, though, and now Social System's a little bit too deep. Enchanted Crucial is going to land onto the Rel. Robin has to flash away. Social System not so lucky as they get hit by the Dazzle, and Red Hawk will clean up with the help of Vortex Ninja.
Yeah, kill desperately needed in the pockets of ASO, and Vortex Ninja out to a good start here. Has the pressure advantage over Robin. This bot lane, without the help of Red, has not been able to get out to the start they were able to in Game 1. Feeling a whole lot weaker, feeling a whole lot less relevant. Need to see this Rek'Sai take that back, make use of the 2,600 gold in pocket, Nyarko. That is almost enough for a full item.
They have 3,100 gold overall. They have been consistently one of the richest players on the teams, actually, and they just have not been able to cash out any of that. Now, they're coming back with the Iron Spike Whip. It looks like they're going for a Stride Breaker build or something like that, which is nice, but I mean, you could have used those to clear your camps faster too. It's just so weird to see OEI take this passive an approach to a game versus a team that they've sussed out so well in game number 1.
And look at these pings. Look at this passing. Rek'Sai content to continue to live in the top side here. I don't love this from OEI. There's no reason to be sacrificing your bot side like this when you're red here. Let Robin be the carry that we've seen them be in previous games. Enable your team. It just feels like they're diving in too deep on a kind of bit choice early on in the game.
Syndra could be in trouble though, so if Redhawk can't successfully defend this mid lane, perhaps that's an angle that OEI can use to then swing back on the board. Now we do see that flank come in. King of Darkin is going to have to use their flash early, get out of the way of the Encore, and here comes Red. Not even needing to use the Void Rush, they do flash, but this still leaves them available to go for something, either the 1v1 versus Redhawk in their own jungle, or probably more preferably a gank versus Sir Derp, who has the wave on their side. They're trying to push this in, and this is prime time right now for the Void Monster to strike.
Yeah, I would have loved to see that flash hell. I don't think it was necessary, but still, good kill for Red. Nice job getting themselves unleashed here. Sir Derp
Going in.
That grand challenge is going to be in trouble here as Red is looking for the kill. As that Void Seeker could use the ultimate, but it looks like the answer is going to be no. Red not pulling the trigger here, which I think is a little bit smart.
Yeah, especially with Jarvan coming in, it'd be hard to force that play. That being said, ASO is getting a saving grace in the bot lane as we see the teleport in. However, OEI now are the ones turning things around with the Seraphine's presence as top. Redhawk is also just going to die. I thought the Dogpound General and Vortex Ninja were going to be able to get out of that one, but unfortunately, that Summoner Spell is actually going to chase them off. Syndra is now wrapping down into the river, but this is still a united front for OEI to play off of, and Sir Derp is in danger of being dove.
Yeah, speaking of in danger, King of Darkin up here in the river, split apart from the bot side of the map, is getting CC'd, is getting chained, and Poseidon will take that down very cleanly. Vortex Ninja and Dogpound General do have the health advantage, but I'm not sure that they can really take this fight with a full health, full mana Seraphine on the back lines here. OEI wins top side and bot side, as well as control over this second Drake of the game.
Yeah, that was getting baited by an Enchanted Crystal Arrow if I ever did see it. King of Darkin is unable to get the stun they need. Robin immediately cleanses, and Dogpound General, like you're talking about, without that Cosmic Radiance, can't push up to help the Syndra anymore. So this will be priority over this second dragon of the game for OE Infinity. This is certainly not the same kind of pressure towards Soul that we saw earlier, but now with 4 kills on the board, this is the OEI we saw in game number 1, coming back to the fray just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit slower to get off the ground in this game, which is a little bit problematic when you have a Lucian. You don't want to get too far into that hyper late game when the champion starts falling off. But for now, they're starting to get their feet under them. We saw it in game 1 as well, where it took a while for them to get to their absolute best showing. So we may just need to hold our breath for a little bit longer here to see what they really come out with. That being said, we are seeing significantly better play from the solo laners of ASO. Sir Derp barely behind on CS, has a couple of turret plates, so in terms of gold, is just about neck and neck with Koi. King of Darkin in a similar state, only about 400 gold down. Feeling all right here for the solo lanes of ASO.
Fact of the matter is, though, Koi is in a position to, in my opinion, better carry this late game. I am worried about Sir Derp's abilities to go for split pushes to dictate the pace of this game. If OE Infinity, as united front outside of this top laner, are able to take preferable 4v4s while the Jax covers, it doesn't actually feel like ASO have all that much pressure.
Yeah, we'll have to see, though, because we do see Syndra, once she gets all of those shards, become a major threat. Redhawk, once again, didn't learn their lesson in game 1, not allowed to exist on the map, it feels like, as in the bot side social system, looking for the engage. There's Cosmic Radiance available, but Dogpound General has not used it yet. The health bars are getting a little slightly dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing because now Enchanted Crystal Arrow is used. Social System has the flashback. Robin has to hand off the aggro. They die, as does the Rel. And the cross map will stabilize that play as we do see King of Darkin die as well.
Yeah, but that's a double kill for Vortex Ninja. Now it's 3-0-0. Well positioned to be the carry in team fights for this ASO squad. And this is, as we've mentioned again and again, the player that has been the most consistent carry for this ASO team. Needs to step up, needs to be the man to beat. And right now, doing a great job of that. Will likely take this turret here from 100 to 0. First turret gold going to that Ashe. However, on the other side of the map, the Rek'Sai looking to take the second Rift Herald of the game, trying to break open the map here for the solo laners on the top half, content to let Robin and Social System flounder a little bit on this bot side.
I mean, this is what I was talking about, though, Aulz. The bot lane was always the win condition for ASO. You could see it in the last game as well. Robin and the Social System were unable to smash that lane as Poseidon, as Gabe, and Koi were able to smash their own respective parts of the map. And so I wanted to see Red babysit them just a little bit. Now that the Rek'Sai was fully isolated from the bot for the entirety of this early game, Always Slept On are going to be able to get first turret blood. Vortex Ninja's in a comfortable spot, going for that Triforce build. And I really do think that ASO are still very much in this game. They just cannot take another bad fight.
Absolutely, they're still in this game. They still feel perfectly fine as long as Vortex Ninja can survive in the backline. The problem is, despite Robin and Social System being down, Red has found kills. Red is now 3-0-1. Red is very fed at this point. And if Red can get onto Vortex Ninja with this kind of damage-focused build from the Rek'Sai, should be able to fairly easily take out the Ashe in team fights. So ASO will have to be very careful and very intelligent about their play and about their positioning in order to protect their soul carry.
Now, Rek'Sai is once again pathing towards this top, maybe even going for just a full-on dive after getting that Rift Herald. Actually, kind of looks like they're going more for a pick versus Red Hawk.
Oh, not again.
Up, and there we see Koi and Red just pincer them down. That was honestly pretty fortuitous, because now it's even easier to go for the Rift Herald drop on the top side, and Fiora has to respect this presence and back off, as this will be the tier 1 going down in favor of OEI.
Yeah, OEI likely to walk this in, likely to get the tier 2 charge as well. Continue to put pressure down. And finally, this top side focus from the Rek'Sai paying off a little bit. Robin forced to use the cleanse in the mid lane, but it feels like they're okay with a little bit of loss in favor of big gains in this top lane.
Sir Derp is unfortunately unable to save their tower, and now they're going to die for it. Not really sure what they were doing, knowing that the Rek'Sai still had the Void Rush available, but regardless, it's just going to be more gold over to OEI to further cement the domination top. That being said, Social System is hard whiffing on their Magnet Storm, and that does mean that there's a chance for a re-engage. Koi, with no backup, is going to have to flash into Bush. Here comes Poseidon as Gabe using that Encore. Koi is going to be able to get to safety. Blastby will also save the Seraphine, but now it looks like Red is over-dedicated. In the midst of the Cosmic Radiance, Shutdown will float over to Vortex Ninja, who moves up to 4-0 on this Ashe.
4-0 plus a 550 gold bonus bounty on top of that. That's a lot of gold going into this Ashe, sitting with 1,600 in pocket. That is not who Red needed to die to. Not that Red needed to die in the first place.
Yep.
That was just completely unnecessary play, going in too deep, a little bit too aggressive from OEI.
Those are those moments that are incredibly awkward, though, where it feels like you might have to sacrifice yourself to save the rest of your team. And even if you're watching the fight, your decisions in the moment are on such a tight schedule that sometimes you just got to go whole hog. So OEI are punished in that situation. Perhaps if ASO could instigate a few more fights along those lines, they could bring back the gold deficit that they currently sit in. But right now, eyes are on this third dragon.
Yeah, and the team with priority is going to be ASO. Red is in the area, but this will be a dangerous look to steal. The flash is available, as are the tunnels. The members of OEI are around, but they just don't have an entry in. They have to be very careful about how they choose to start this fight, whether they walk into the Taric or not.
I don't think that OEI should push for this one. The soul isn't that important. It's very behind schedule. And furthermore, Red Hawk has a beautiful engage. Here comes the Cataclysm. Encore will respond back, but Rel dies as they fire off their Magnet Storm. Robin and Poseidon and his Gabe are so low that they just have to round the corner and get back away from this fight as the dragon goes down in favor of ASO. Red Hawk is dead, but unfortunately, they will be traded back for Koi, who leaps into the pit. And now, here's the push from ASO. Looking for even more. They are aren't going to be able to pay attention to the flank, though, and Red just jumps on top of multiple members of Red Team, and now they get the knockup on Vortex Ninja as well. The Ashe has no one there, and the shutdown will go over to the Void Monster as Poseidon, his game, is zooming around the battlefield, using the Cloud Shield speed up to try to get away from King of Darkin, who eventually drops a nuke on top of the Starry-Eyed Songstress, but now Red is here to follow, tunneling over the wall. Social System blast plans forward. They will force the flash out of King of Darkin. They flash as well. They get a stun off of the Q. Red given chase, and ASO unfortunately have to go back to bed.
Yeah, just shy there, the delayed ace for OEI. Red popping off like a firework, though, 4 kills in that extended fight. Unfortunate that they give over the Drake, but from ASO, just the unnecessary overextension there. You get the kills early, you get the Drake just to back out. There's no point chasing in so deep, but instead the overcommit creates a disaster for this squad, and Red, now with 2,000 gold in pocket with 2 fully completed items, is on track to become an absolute demon from the shadows here as the jungler.
I thought that was going to go completely belly up for OEI, and it almost did, but ASO, unfortunately, just did not take the fight on their own terms in a way that I think they were expecting to, even after Red Hawk got a beautiful Cataclysm. Now, Koi, even caught up inside of this Jarvan ult, is still able to pick up a kill, might actually land another if it wasn't for the saving grace of Vortex Ninja and Dog Pound General, but that shows the power of this top lane for OEI, and now, with the split push threat on the board, how can ASO navigate this dicey macro situation with the Baron Nashor available?
They have to just focus on playing as a 5-man. I don't like this split push from them. Right now, your team is entirely devoted to Vortex Ninja.
No.
You win and lose on the back of this Ashe. This Ashe who is Magnetstorm, this Ashe who is knocked up and deleted in the mid lane. Dog Pound General will be soon to follow. That is what you cannot allow for ASO, and this is the result. OEI going to go over, going to take this Baron unless Red Hawk can manage a miracle steal here at 22 minutes.
I don't see a way for the Jarvan to get this, unfortunately. Smite is available for Red, and that's heartbreaking, you know? ASO had some breathing room. Even after that last fight that went pretty roughly for them, they were at least able to go 1-for-1 on the top lane and get some amount of presence off the board. Now, Red Hawk has to just flag and drag back over the wall. That is going to fully confirm no steal chance available for ASO anymore. Social System might be getting engaged upon, but Fiora has no CC for this champion. They just hop right back over the wall with the crash down. And now Sir Derp knows that they can't actually chase Koi because the rest of Blue Squad is right there. And now they're packing the Baron buff as well.
Yeah, this is the worst of all possible worlds for ASO. Your job as a squad is to protect Vortex Ninja. The moment that Vortex Ninja dies, your game becomes so much harder. You have to keep this Ashe alive. 2 items, 6 kills. She is your everything. She is your world. I hate that they are continuing this 1-3-1 split push because you cannot afford any amount of that peel to be away from this Ashe for an extended period of time. I really think they just need to group up, to turtle up, and focus on one lane at a time here.
Yep, things are not over just yet, but Always Slept On certainly have given up any chance of coming back within a single fight. It is a matter of turtling and hoping that not only will you be able to clear off these Baron buffs earlier, but furthermore, you'll be able to get favorable fights after the fact. And right now, we are yet again seeing the dominance of OEI shot calling come through as they're able to forge a path into the enemy jungle and force out Red Squad.
Yeah, Sir Derp TPing into a very dangerous spot, kind of isolated beneath this tier 1 turret. King of Darkin is there as well, but I don't like this for ASO. They are in a very dangerous position with 4 members coming out of the jungle.
Yep, waves here, and here goes King of Darkin. Oh, Koi just knows exactly how to target in situations like this. And now it's going to not only be a tower falling, but King of Darkin as well. A major means of wave clear now gone. Means that ASO will be even hard pressed to get any kind of presence out onto the map beyond their base. As this is probably going to be a shot at an inhibitor.
Yeah, and as long as this Ashe is away from the team, there is nothing that ASO can do. They're just going to continue to give up pressure, but instead OEI backing out, wanting to prep for this 4th Drake of the game to turn this Drake score to 2-2 here. They're going to back through the river. They're going to drop some vision, and they're going to make sure that ASO cannot contest this as Red takes it. Sitting at 3 fully completed items here. This Rek'Sai is nigh on untouchable, it feels like.
Yeah, It's very sad to see ASO come through with developments in that early game that gave me confidence to say maybe they can take this game, but it seems like once the laning phase dissolves away and you're back here for team fights, just general approaches to the game are lacking from ASO to be able to coordinate and repel the assault of OEI. Like you're talking about, the 1-3-1 has hurt them immensely, as that just allows for more free picks on champions like Red, and Robin on this Lucian as well is starting to come into their own. 2-2-4 with a bounty. They are catching up to the gold of Vortex Ninja, who's the only person on ASO's side that even has a striking chance against the 9-1-5 Rek'Sai that we maligned for doing nothing in the early game.
To be fair, ASO did a great job in the early game of keeping Red from being a factor. They were doing what they needed to for the first 2, 3, 5, 10 minutes of this game. But all it took was a couple of kills, a little bit of momentum, something to grease the wheels, and suddenly OEI was off to the races. This is a team that takes their snowballs and uses them so effectively that teams cannot give an inch in the early game. It's such a thin line to walk, and ASO just fell off the tightrope. Speaking of falling off the tightrope, Vortex Ninja's in trouble once again here, as Red all alone is forcing the flash out.
Yep, and King of Dark and Will die to a beautiful crash down setup. I love the fact that Social System isn't necessarily there to start off plays, but they know to make it like a, I don't know, a bee to honey, a fly to syrup over to the fight itself, and they get a crash down when it matters most to secure the kill after Flash is forced out by the sheer presence of the Rek'Sai.
Yeah, and now we see the continued pressure. There may not be a Baron, but just slowly picking apart this ASO squad, who cannot afford to move as any less than 5. King of Darkin obviously still dead, but still the 4 members trying their best to rotate between the waves as they crash. Uneven. This OEI squad doing a great job making sure that neither wave crashes at the same time, so ASO has to respond to one or the other, but never both, slowly chipping away at these inhibitor turrets. As long as they play this correctly, there's going to be next to nothing that ASO can do. They have to try and generate an opportunity for themselves if Red Team wants to win this game.
That being said, they have found a weak spot. System just jumps too far forward. However, the Magnetstorm is doing so much to disrupt the approach of the team, and Koi somehow makes it onto the backline with the covering suppressive fire of the Encore, and it seems like the Cosmic Radiance means nothing at this point. Koi jumps right on top of Sir Derp, who activated their ultimate to no avail. Not a single vital proct, as Vortex Ninja will be able to kill Poseidon as Gabe, but is it too little too late? That is going to be full birth given now to the taking of this tier 3 in the mid lane inhibitor, about to be targeted down as well.
Yeah, and ASO nearly had the fight that they needed there. It was nearly perfect. The only issue was Poseidon is Gabe landing a beautiful 4-man Encore. Social System not dying, not allowing this team to get the resets, to get the stats that they needed off of that kill, and Red continuing to be this disruptive, dangerous force in the backside, forcing Vortex Ninja out, keeping Sir Derp from being the threat they needed to be, pushing Red Hawk back. They just can't quite find all of the angles that they need to at once. There's bits, there's fragments, but it's not quite the whole picture.
I am a little bit worried, Aulz, about the fact that currently King of Darkin is at 6 deaths, and I think that probably keeps them in the running for most deaths on average in the OCL, right?
They are far and away at that point. Their only competitors are other people on the map right now for ASO, and given that they have the most deaths on Red Squad, I think they're doing just fine.
Yeah, it just feels like the reason that's happening is not necessarily they're making great plays for the team either. They're just caught out in a lot of situations. Yeah, it's hard to get out from under a Jax or Rek'Sai with a Seraphine backing them up, but you should not be where the Syndra often is in this game if you want to stay alive and if you don't want that ignominious title brought to yourself. King of Dark and more like King of Deaths, as it were, as Koi is now going to be able to find pressure in the sideline by just slaying Sir Derp in the 1v1.
Yeah, Sir Derp is gone, and with the J4 seen on the bot side, this will be the Baron. They're going to have to contest this ASO will if they want to have any chance of winning the game, but they're too slow, they're too late, there's no chance. Blue team secures it untouched. Nyarko, I don't think there's any shot.
Yep, I think Vortex Ninja and Dogpound General just die right now. Social System has the flash, they have the crash down, they have the Encore at their back, and they have the Magnet Storm. that is the end of the game right there. Vortex Ninja with all of their damage. King of Darkin is getting chased down now alongside Red Hawk. Good scatter of the week to repel Red at first, but now with this wave, they're going to be able to push on towards these Nexus turrets with the empowered minions at their back. Koi has been splitting the bot lane all the while. There goes the second inhibitor, and there goes game number 2 in the series. OEI, not flawless, but beautifully positioned now within the OCL.
Yeah, now looking great. Haven't lost a match since week 1. Since they picked up Social System on this roster, they have looked absolutely dominant, picking up a couple of kills on their way out just to make sure that this game is as dominant as possible. 26-11 Nyarko, 15,000 gold. I won't say OEI is the team to beat because there are other squads in OCL that have looked beautiful. Niner Esports, for example, which beat this OEI squad week 1, still has not dropped a game, but overall, after week 1, this OEI squad looks great, and I am very much looking forward to seeing what kind of rematch we will eventually get between them and Niner, assuming both these teams continue their trajectory.
Let's put it this way, man. OEI might not be the team to beat, or at least the speculation round. I'll tell you who the team to beat is, though. ASO, because they seem to be free money right now in the OCL. And so they are a team that you have to beat if you want to have any kind of statement-making potential within the rest of this season.
Yeah, speaking of statement victories, though, let's take a look at these post-game stats for OEI. 26-11 and 51. Look at that gold graph, Nyarko. Never any doubt after about the 3-minute mark that OEI was the team in charge. And yes, the Syndra, King of Darkin, did what they needed to do in terms of damage, but it was just the problem of being caught out again and again and again that did not help this Syndra. We need to see a little bit better positioning from them in the future. Meanwhile, for OEI, that damage graph, all of these members carrying their weight so well. It just seems like such a well-rounded team that even the slip-ups aren't enough to take them to the ground.
And now the question for ASO is how can they scale up and develop from here? Because I think that there are shining moments that they are able to play off of. Frankly, I think their macro in that early game for game number 2 was causing us to mostly focus our ire on OEI, actually. Their ability to
Absolutely.
keep the map split with Red Hawk deftly navigating the bot side of that map and dodging out of the way of most of the adventures that OEI sent back in their direction made it so Vortex and Ninja had great breathing room. And I think that in that 2v2, they showed that they were simply better in isolated fights versus Robin and Social System. The problem is, come late game, all that went out the window. So there's plenty of things to develop here. And while these are things that can be learned, I think it's a little bit tough to learn these things so quickly as to restabilize in another week of the OCL. So hopefully, while we can see development, it has to come quickly for ASO.
Yeah, I mean, there is going to be a little bit longer. This is a full season, not just a 3-week season like we saw in Season 4. Knock on wood, we're not going to see that again. But there still needs to be improvement week over week, and so far we're not quite seeing that from ASO. We need to see them tap into the powers that they have. As you said, Vortex Ninja, King of Darkin, if they can calm themselves down and play to their strengths a little bit better, they can become a powerhouse as well. It'll just take time. It just takes continued work. But if they're willing to put in that effort day over day, by the end of the season, I suspect that they will be at least in a spot where they can be proud of what they've done.
Definitely the case. OEI is a team that I want to see come back in the future with some more statement making potential. I want to see them forge a way towards those grand finals. And I want to see ASO similarly take up that mantle of continuous improvement as they are stalwarts here in the OCL. And we would not have a league without teams like them. They just got to bring that tenacity to bear within the games themselves as well. About time that we close out for the night. Great series. Shout out to everybody tuning in. It was a blast watching you guys. And this is a blast casting for all of the audience. I see Vortex Ninja there in the chat giving us a shout out. I got to shout you out, Aulz. My constant companion throughout many different leagues. It's great to be back here in the OCL, and I cannot wait for more.
Man, it's always a pleasure casting with you. Thanks to you, to our wonderful sponsors at OCL, and to our fabulous producer on the back desk, Mason, who has done such a great job dealing with the lovely, lovely tech issues that Riot has to throw our way while still making this look smooth and clean. This has been a great staff. OCL has been one of my favorite places to cast both last season and this season, and I'm looking forward to even more here as the weeks go on. We'll see you all tomorrow with our regularly scheduled week 4 match. But until then, thank you all for coming out. Thank you for supporting us late on this Thursday night, and we'll see you all next time.